Testament who was called by God to follow in the footsteps of the great Elijah. And in order to be in that mission of following in Elijah's footsteps and be the prophet to God's people, he had to get rid of the things that would hold him back, the distractions. For him, he literally had to burn, not the ships, but burn the plow. He had to take the plow that he was using to plow his father's field and use it as firewood and cut the oxen up and sacrifice them to God in order to leave that which held him back and follow where God might call him to. And 2 weeks ago, we talked about how mission is defined as both evangelism, sharing the good news in word, and justice, acts of compassion, sharing the gospel in deed. We talked a little bit about how the current church tends to pick one or the other. We tend to be really comfortable with evangelism or really comfortable with taking care of the poor and participating in acts of justice. But typically, we as the church forget that God calls us to both. To love God with our body and encourage others to love God with our heart, mind, soul, and strength, but also to act towards neighbor in a way that promotes a more just world. So now, what does this woman at the well teach us about mission? Well, the first thing we want to do a little bit of a history lesson so that we know who she is. So back in the time of the king, right after King Solomon, there was a civil war, and Israel, as was known under King David, Saul and David and Solomon, no longer existed. There was then the northern kingdom that became known as Israel, and the southern kingdom, where Jerusalem is, that was known as Judah. And Israel was served by a long list